I became a registered dietitian. I was a personal trainer through NASM, and no one teaches you how to actually change someone's gut and hormone health. And I was like, let me solve that problem. Okay. So, how many of you have had a client with stubborn weight loss? Yes. Right? It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You can only diet someone so much. And then that begs to differ that theory. What happens to calories in and calories out? Do you believe in this, that calories in and out is weight loss and weight gain? I mean, yes, but I'm pretty sure it's more complex than that. And I can guarantee you it is more complex than that. It is much more complex than just the food that you eat because the food goes through a lot of metabolic biochemistry changes in the body through basic acidic processes, all the way through the digestion. Right. So it's more than just balancing blood sugar and building a healthy plate. If you want fast changes in your clients, I've had someone, by the way, again, this is all a bodybuilding background show. She came to me tracking her macros, lost 10 pounds of water weight, eating the same exact macros, right? We just changed the lifestyle. We changed the type of food that she was eating. Okay. So it becomes more than just macros and exercise. It's more than building a healthy plate. It's kind of like saying, just cut out your bread, guys. Just cut out your bread. It'll feel you'll lose the weight, right? It works. Macros and exercise works until it doesn't. And you start learning that there's a lot more complex issues that you didn't really know about. So we built out the three-phase blueprint, and this has been used by thousands of people to see results. And it works. Why? Because it's all evidence-based. Everything starts in the gut, how we metabolize our food. And I'll show you that in a second. How we absorb the nutrients. If you're not digesting the food that you're eating properly, do you think you're absorbing the vitamins? And if you're not absorbing the vitamins, how are your organs functioning? How are your hormones doing, right? So many people jump to, oh, cortisol is my issue. Nope. All starts in the gut, right? It starts in the gut. It starts with these 5 speed pillars I'm going to teach you in this webinar. And it starts with being able to actually nourish your body and get those multivitamins through food and into our body. Okay, so once your gut is cleared up, you're absorbing foods, you're absorbing those vitamins and minerals properly, they're actually being shuttled more properly to your muscles. Now your hormones start working properly. Now your hormones are working properly. Now you have more energy. Now you have more energy. You have better metabolism, right? All those macros and exercise, now we're actually seeing an effect on that. And that's why the physique change, it comes last. So many people think that this comes first. It comes last. And by this time, and I'll show you in a second, I know we have so much to dive into. By this time, it's so easy. All the physique changes happen like that. And this is why. So when we have food, we intake, you guys know macronutrients, right? You know, fat, protein, carbs can be highly digestible. They can be non-digestible, AKA fibers and FODMAPs. Then you also can intake probiotics. They go into our mouths, down our esophagus, into our stomachs, into the small intestine, then into, here we go, the large intestine. By this point, they enter as the broken down form, which happens in the small intestine. So once they reach the large intestine, it's already pre-digested, right? It's like the amino acids, the fatty acids. It's going to be any of the fibers because the readily absorbable ones would have been digested and absorbed a little bit earlier. And then it's going to be the probiotics that survive that far. All of these then get modulated by the gut bacteria in your large intestine. So anytime you see a stool test, that's going to be your large intestine that it's testing. So when we test the microbiota here, we're really testing the bacteria levels that are in charge of your modulation, of creating. How many of you have heard of the gut-brain axis, right? This is where those compounds are made, the short chain fatty acids, the phenols, the indols, the secondary bile acids, all of these byproducts. If you've ever heard of the term postbiotics, okay? So when we think of prebiotics, we think of fiber. When we think of probiotics, we think of the gut bugs themselves, right? The gut bugs eat the prebiotics. So they feed on that and they create the postbiotics. Okay. So prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics. There's even more biotics, I promise you, but I won't confuse you anymore. So the postbiotics then are responsible for actually for how your glycogen is stored, how much fuel is in your muscles, how much nutrient absorption you have. Literally, how much muscle you gain is directly correlated and associated with the levels of gut microbiome that you have, of healthy, of unhealthy, of specific strains. Now, we don't necessarily know yet what a healthy versus an unhealthy gut looks like because we don't know exactly what strains of this specific bacteria is going to lead to this specific aftermath. I think in the next 40 years we'll get there. But for now, we know that diversity is key. We want nice, healthy, tight junctions. We want diversity here in your microbiome. And hey, that might include a little bit of yeast. It might include a little pair of parasites. But the way that I like to explain it is it's like a nice HOA community. Everyone's houses are built quite the same. Everyone's happy. There's more or less, but everyone's houses look basically the same, right? When one of them starts overgrowing, imagine they bulldoze their whole acreage, they start building a huge shopping mall in the middle of the community. That's when everyone starts getting angry. And so when we start having these imbalances of the good, the bad, the different types of different particles or microbiome starts just getting skewed in one or the other direction, that's when inflammation happens and it begins to break down this mucosal layer that's found here. This is like a nice, healthy mucosal layer. When you have leaky gut, it breaks that down. And when it gets broken down, the tight junctions in your gut start opening up. And this is where you start getting food sensitivities, right? You're like, hold on, the food that I was eating here, like gluten, broccoli, it can be healthy food. It can be asparagus, it can be red meat, it can be chicken. Any of the food that you're eating is getting passed through these faulty tight junctions and getting access into our bloodstream. And at that point, you have chicken flowing through your blood, and your body is like, SOS, that's not supposed to be there, right? And you get all these immune aftermath effects, okay? Obviously, that's not exactly how it works, but it's a really great way of understanding these processes and why food sensitivity tests are not accurate. Because if the food sensitivity test is testing my immune reaction, this IgG, and that's a normal reaction to the food that I'm eating, then what is it really testing, right? Wouldn't it make more sense instead of spending money on that food sensitivity test to actually spend money on maybe the bacterial colonies that are causing this leaky gut or focusing on gut health? Now, why are people's gut health so overwhelmed? And it really comes down to these 5 speed pillars that we've created at CorePerform. Now, these 5 speed pillars will speed up your metabolism and performance, okay? The first and most important thing, and by the way, this is what all of you coaches have access to doing on a weekly basis with your clients if you are not already. Because the more that you can optimize these 5 things, the more you can get those quick, easy wins for your clients, which means more money in your pocket because it's greater LTV, greater AOV, all the things I'll talk about from a business perspective in a bit. Sleep is going to be where your immune system takes hold, right? So all your recovery happens in your sleep. How are you going to build muscle and lose fat if you can't actually build the muscle because you're not sleeping well? You're not getting that deep, restful sleep. The immune system's not happening. The recovery is not happening. You're just in that catabolic state for life. Doesn't make sense. Sleep is most important. Then it's the personal stress. Everyone has kids. Everyone has a job. That doesn't make you unique and different about your stress, right? It's how you perceive your environment that you have full control over. You have full control over how you feel around your kids, around your husband, around the relationships around you. And that's why mental health and coaching is so important around your ultimate health. Environmental stress is going to be things like water, air, we are almost 80% water. And y'all haven't talked to your clients about Brita filters and how they're nonsense. Reverse osmosis filters is the best type of filter that you can get for your clients. We're eliminating any of the E. coli or the chlorine or anything that could be killing or changing or modulating our gut microbiome. And then we breathe more than we eat. So why aren't we thinking of purifying the air, getting rid of mold, environmental allergies? Think about the California forest fires, right? If you're breathing in that toxic air all the time, these are real things that are happening with our clients that no one talks about. Then we have exercise. Then we have diet, okay? Too much or too little, as you guys know, is going to be a stress on the body. Now, any stress, any of these 5 speed pillar stressors are what is going to either lead to disease or prevent disease. So if you can focus on these 5 things, you're already improving the chronic health state of any disease, heart conditions, diabetes, no matter what the health condition is that this person has. I know for a fact that if you improve these 5 things, you will benefit them. So you can do better. You can do better than the macros in the training. You can go deeper. And this is an example of a case study where I want to show you what we teach in the gut certification, which is how to read GI maps and while staying within your scope of practice. Okay. So this is an online coach that came to me. Within 8 weeks, we were able to do this progress. And how can we do this progress so quickly? She actually was becoming a registered dietitian. So she was 21 years old. She was an online coach. She was becoming a registered dietitian. She's like, Dasha, I eat healthy. Like I lift 5 times a week. I consume 6 to 9 fruits and veggies a day. But she got diagnosed with IBS-C from her doctor. Her symptoms were chronic bloat and constipation, brain fog, fatigue, and poor recovery. Her doctor said and prescribed just take Miralax, go to the bathroom, VSL, it's a probiotic I can prescribe to you, try the low FODMAP diet. She called me the next day and she's like, I can't believe my doctor just told me to do that. And I was like, I promise you I have a solution. I can start you up with CorePerform. I can start you with, she's like, no, well, let me just try it out. She already prescribed the probiotic. Let me just try. A week later, she calls me. She's like, I'm ready. I'm ready to dive deeper. And here's what we found. So we found H. pylori. H. pylori is a bacteria that about 50% of the population has. It can be harmful. It can cause acid reflux, but it's quite common. And it transfers by saliva, so it's quite easy to pick up between people. So she did have H. pylori present. She did have too much even of this good bacteria. And remember what I told you about communities, right? We don't like when there's too much of anyone. We really like a healthy balance of everyone in the community. So this was not a great sign to see either. And then we did see a lot of overgrowth here with the bacillus, the enterococcus, the streptococcus, the methanobacteriococci. So we did see a lot of overgrowth here as well with different types of overgrowth or opportunistic microbes. All of that overgrowth is causing a lot of digestive insufficiency, suppressing her immune system. She's way more likely to get sick. And it's overburdening her liver because her liver is what's going to be processing all of these toxins and the endotoxins and all of the lipopolysaccharides that are being produced by all these quote unquote bad gut bugs or the inflammatory microbiome that she currently has. So here's a little bit more about what this test exactly is showing you, okay? So there are other tests, by the way, on the market, things like Viome and stuff, they're not accurate in the sense that, you can't make actionable results from them. They're just going to tell you to eat more fiber, to not eat more fiber. And those are kind of things like, as a coach, you should have asked those beforehand. You should have optimized their diet. You should have done the basics, the 5 speed pillars before you even got to this point. Because 85% of our clients don't need a GI map. But this is where you can make a lot of money with utilizing it. And I can share more about this if we have time, but I do want to be mindful of everyone's time here. I think we only have 30 minutes. Liver is going to be this beta glucuronidase. We can see if there's blood in the stool. We can see if they're digesting their fat properly with the steatocrit. If they're not digesting their fat, they're not absorbing their vitamins. You need fat to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, K. Elastase is going to be your digestive enzymes, more or less. So the digestive capacity there. Sec-IgA is going to be your immune system. Anti-gliadin is going to be a reactivity to gluten. And then calprotectin is an inflammatory marker differentiator between IBS and IBD. I know I scrolled through that really quickly, but I just want to make sure that I get to cover the training changes and the diet changes we made so that you know what we did. So for the first few weeks, we had her not work out. We kept food at maintenance. We pulled all stress. Remember how important that word is, stress, the 5 speed pillars. We pulled all of those down so that we could empty her bucket. Her bucket was overflowing with all these things, which is causing a lot of symptoms. We opened up and we made sure that all that water got out, all that stress got out. We tapered in resistance training slowly 3 times a week, then 4 times a week. We slowly reverse dieted her during that time, up to 2,300 calories. She said, Dasha, I've never eaten this much and looked this lean. Now, by that point, we had gotten her GI map back. We had started antimicrobials. Her gut was starting to feel better. And once she felt better, weight flew off like crazy. I mean, we actually dieted her on 2,000 calories. And it was working, right? Because the body had been so primed up to that point. It was digesting food optimally. The hormones were working properly. She was recovering well. And it was very, very easy for her to lose weight quite quickly. This is the competitive edge that I think that a lot of turnkey coaches have the ability to start doing. And I actually haven't talked to Andrew about this. So I hope you're okay with me kind of plugging in turnkey in here. But
yeah, let's do it.
We were talking about a few things. So I'm giving you guys insider access on what could be coming with turnkey based off of, you guys letting us know. So you can get your patient better results. If your clients are seeing better results, you'll get more testimonials and you'll get more referrals. It's an easy win-win and you'll grow your business that way. You also need longer coaching packages with a lot of these gut and hormone issues. I mean, the gut itself is probably a 3-month thing. With hormones added to it, we like to give our clients around 6 months. That means clients need you for the longer packages. It's just how it's going to work, which also makes you more money. You have a client for ongoing for a really long time. And then at that point, you can have VIP coaching because the more value that you can add, the more that you can charge. Great. Now I've tapped out. Like now that I can run GI maps and I can look at Dutch tests and I can teach you how to work with your doctor. You are never replacing the doctor. You are working with the doctor, maybe even working with the dietitian. Now that basic supply and demand might drive up your coaching demand prices because you are giving them the premium community and offer. So you can outsource to scale with turnkey. So one of the things we were talking about was maybe even just partnering and leveraging turnkey, or you could learn how to do this yourself, right? You could and still be able to only have one coach. And so turnkey allows you to kind of like give a dietitian or, take on a nutritionist into your team. But if you wanted to, you could be that nutritionist yourself too. So let's talk about first outsourcing to scale with turnkey. So, some of the things that we were talking about is done for you nutrition coaching. You can plug in with this programming, you can plug in someone else who is certified and does know how to do this. And so without anything, you don't have to learn how to do this. Just plug something into your offer, charge more for it, and sell it. You just make the margins. You can also we can talk about with Andrew, but one-time upsells with calls with RDs. You make commission, your clients are getting better results. You can partner within the app for that integrated experience that I was talking to you about. Or you could do done for you client handouts, buying back your time, increasing client satisfaction and progress. So one thing that we were talking with Andrew about was giving you guys the ability to do, just plug in some education handouts around gut health or something that would allow your clients to get those quick wins so you can buy back your time. Now, the other option is, you learn how to do these advanced labs yourselves. You get that lab testing commission, maybe supplement commission, maybe one-time consult call options or bundles. You can have add-ons and upsells. In our coaching, we do a 3-month package or a 6-month package plus a free test. Do you know how many more people are signing up for the 6-month packages now that we've done that? And there's a lot more that you can do. I basically say, like, I teach you how to make $800 in an hour, charge $500 for two 30-minute calls in a bundle, initial and a follow-up. Then you make lifetime commissions on the supplements. If they're ordering multivitamins or they're ordering whatever, they're probably going to stay on whatever recommendation or data that you provide. Now, always, and I teach you this within the course, is stay within your scope of practice. Okay. And it's around wording that I teach you how to do this and stay within your scope. That's really important, but it's possible. It's just about the phrases that you use. And then lab testing commission as well. So all of those get you just about $800 an hour. They get me that, at least. And so, you can then leverage that to build that advanced coaching package, that VIP package. So I am giving you the secret sauce to make money without doing anything. I just told you how to make $800 in an hour. Imagine how many other coaching packages you could do by just learning how to get certified in gut and hormone health. Or maybe we talk to Andrew if you guys are interested. We can talk about these plug and chug options for you guys where you can add in this without actually having to learn how to do it. So you can outsource or you can learn it yourself. With us, we are the first AI certified program. So all the 500 citations that I have from PubMed are all basically taken from ChatGPT. And no, it's not just a little chatbot model. We actually built out our own engine in our app that you have access to when you're certified. We use it to create meal plans and things like that. I always say, like, give me an example meal plan of a 1,800 calorie histamine, low FODMAP, gluten-free, dairy-free meal plan, and it'll just happen. So it's awesome. But it's unlike any other program. And we've really focused on not food as medicine and not supplementing, and really focusing on those 5 speed pillars, which is why it's so successful with online coaches, is because I'm teaching you how to stay within your scope of practice while learning all of the importance of gut and hormone health. You'll be smarter than the other online coaches. You'll be able to charge more, gain your time back, become more valuable. You can WhatsApp me or find me on Instagram if you guys have specific questions or needs or anything like that. But with that said, I will open up the floor to any questions we're able to do. I'm so sorry. I know we probably should have taken more time, but
That's perfect. I mean, do you have time to go over the 30
yeah,
minutes? Perfect.
yeah.
Because I got a bunch of questions. It's interesting with the coaches that we've got. The reaction is both a ton of interest, even though a lot of them weren't able to make the call live. I know we've got a lot of people that are looking forward to the recording, as well as skepticism, I would say, mixed with uncertainty.
Let's do it.
Blood health and gut health seem to bring up a little bit of concern that it's drifting into what a registered dietitian should be doing or what a doctor should be doing. And in fact, a lot of our recommendations have been to not interpret these results out of fear of being qualified up until this point, and your certification, it might help satisfy that. But I'm curious if you could elaborate a little bit more on how you coach people or train coaches to stay within a acceptable scope of practice as a strength and conditioning coach.
Totally.
It's one of these gray areas where it's like very dependent on the state, like different regulations, and also just the so there doesn't seem to be as clear a line of demarcation to coaches.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's where it's like the gray area. And that's why we're building out the 3rd certification is going to be advanced programming. So it's going to take, how do you do exchange programs versus macros versus meal plans, like all the different types and what you can and cannot do, as well as how do you take someone with SIBO with estrogen dominance, but then create an actual training program that will get them better results. Creatine-based workouts, strength-based, hypertrophy-based, oxidative stress, like learning about all of these things. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. All of the certifications go into this, but this is a really great example of it. What coaches can do. You can educate on macronutrients. You can share those general healthy eating patterns, provide portion sizes. The thing that you cannot do is diagnose or treat. And guess what? As a dietitian, I cannot diagnose or treat either. Okay. So anyone who says that they are treating or diagnosing, no, you're not telling them they have this condition. How many of my clients right now come to me saying that they've uploaded their GI map into ChatGPT and they've solved their own issues? A whole lot of them. Okay. So ChatGPT knows how to read blood work. It knows how to read all the things. Everyone's doing it, right? But what we've done with the certification is gathered all this information in cloud on the internet, put it through filters of what's evidence-based and what's not, and shared that with you. And you are doing the same exact thing as an online coach where you're saying, I've done this work, I've gathered this information. Here's the information. You should talk to your doctor about it, dietitian about it for your specific condition. But it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, this would be what I've gathered from the internet. They can do it themselves from the internet, but you've done it because you've already done that work for them. That's what they're paying you for, right? The other thing is a really great example of this. So she went through our first certification, and I saw her then post after our module for staying within your scope of practice in the first week. And I screenshotted it. It's been in all of our certifications thereafter. But this is the perfect way to stay within your scope of practice. Is it safe for someone with high blood pressure to take creatine? First off, confirm with your healthcare provider for your case specifically. Then, in healthy individuals, creatine does not increase blood pressure. You can cite citations around that. You have evidence around that. That's what you've gathered from the internet, right? And you've always referred out and integrated that full team with them. The way that I like to explain this is, you are a health liaison and we are building superheroes. You are the middleman between the doctor and the patient. You're helping them with the stuff that, just like I showed you, the doctor doesn't know what to do. They slap on Miralax, they do this, and it doesn't work for the client. So what does that person have to learn how to do, right? Well, they have to learn how to decrease their stress through those 5 speed pillars. They need to learn and rebuild that health again. And so that's where kind of what we teach and preach. But I totally hear you. When you first see it, you're like, what is the gray area?
Yeah. And how would you differentiate treating versus that example you gave in the presentation over the course of 8 weeks? You could argue a prescription,
because I'm never diagnosing and I'm never treating.
So were there supplements and nutrition changes that you made during that period of time?
Yeah, but
how did you frame those to make it not a treatment? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. The best way around it is foods lists, because then they have the full option to choose whatever they want to do. Gotcha. So you educate on the macros, and then you give foods lists of, hey, here's healthy foods lists that you can choose from during this time. And, they put the pieces together for them.
And the supplementation aspect of it, how do you tackle
the supplementation aspect of it is more so around, because there's very hard evidence in PubMed, and I have it all cited in the certification that you then as a coach can pull from if you need to. But ginger improves motility in those with constipation. Again, you're presenting, great. It sounds like if you take 2 teaspoons of ginger every single day, like it's going to improve your motility. Same thing. Hey, it looks like if you take berberine, it's going to help with this if you were to have that. You are that channel of information, and you are never diagnosing and never treating. You are just that channel of information based off of what you're seeing, which again is something that ChatGPT does or the Google does.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to how I handle injuries. If somebody's, describing pain in their shoulder or their knee, I never diagnose.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it's this. If
Mm-hmm.
you're concerned, talk to your PT. And here are some modifications that I generally make when people have that sort of symptom. You can try it and then,
Yeah.
keep your pain at a 4 out of 10 or below. If it gets worse, stop, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. You always give yourself an out with the refer out and for the actual diagnosis and treatment,
Mm-hmm.
and then present options for the client.
And hey, I want you to learn how to use the doctor, but I want you to learn how to use the doctor to the patient's advantage, because they're
Right.
not going to go to the doctor with the GI map. Just like we said, you're not diagnosing anything with the GI map, but
Right.
your SEC IgA and your liver marker and like the elastase, that's a sign. Hey, can we talk to your doctor about, is
Yes.
this a gallbladder issue? Is this could be potentially this? It gives them more context and direction so that they don't come back to you and say, oh, you're just anxious and stressed. Here's an SSRI, which
Uh,
unfortunately is what 90% of doctors do now.
or yeah, I've had personal experiences where they go to the clients complaining about what's one symptom or another. Oh, it's just IBS, or like blast them with antibiotics,
Mm-hmm.
like a huge dose of antibiotics, tell them to go
Yeah.
away and never do any further deep dive. So that's,
Yeah.
we do have a couple questions floating in here real quick. What
Mhm.
are some examples of packages you offer? Are there packages which you offer training without gut and blood health options? And if so, roughly how many clients take gut health related coaching versus non-gut health related coaching?
No, because the riches is in the niches.
Mm,
So I personally niche out on this. So every week on Instagram, I'm sharing my GI maps, I'm sharing my Dutch tests, I'm sharing that specific focus.
mhm,
If you are someone who only takes macros and training clients, then I would recommend only taking macros and training clients. And we work through this in the certification, teaching you. We have business calls too with AI that we can help you with. But it's about messaging. Hey, I'm getting certified and I'd love like to run a GI map on anyone who's interested and I'd love
mm,
to get experience. And then you start weaving that into your messaging and sharing it to your audience.
mm,
Now you offer the one-time consult and maybe, a dietitian is on the call with you, or you refer out to a dietitian, or you hire someone else through turnkey. But it's just about changing the messaging through that. So I don't have a solid answer just because I don't sell that. Like I said,
You personally don't, but there's, as a strength and conditioning coach, you could have that as part of your
right,
suite of offers. Yeah.
totally.
Can Another question: can we order the lab, Dutch test, etc., for clients, or do we need to outsource that to a third party?
No, there's multiple platforms that you can use to order.
I'm going to ask just maybe a practical related question relative for, since most of our clients are strength and conditioning. How have you seen unresolved gut issues affect strength gains? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but
Tons.
um, I guess one of the other skepticisms is like, come on, we've been around, we've been doing this for years and decades. Why is gut health all of a sudden becoming this thing? Why does everybody have allergies now? And it seems to be, for people that have been around for a while, like it's this, maybe one of the perceptions is it's this thing that gets a lot of attention and then turned into selling supplements, which I love your post the other day, by the way, where you were
Mhm.
like, no supplements were required for this person.
Yeah.
So maybe could you talk a little bit about what types of problems how you see that affecting people that are from a strength and conditioning perspective, and why this isn't just like I don't know, this is not intended to be offensive to what you're doing, but I think there's people that think this is like a snake oil
Oh, for
thing
sure.
where
And
we're
they
just
are,
trying
there's
to
so many. That's
sell.
why we say, we're like, look, if you go to a functional doctor, I once I called one time and I was like, hey, I just ran a Dutch test. I have this and I'd like to come in for a consult. And she said, great. Our first consult fee is $500 and we're going to order your labs then. And I said, I'm a dietitian. I just got them. They actually just came in yesterday. No, I'm sorry. Policy is we're going to have to run full new labs on you. And
Mm,
the custom ones that the doctor ordered. I was like, this is a scam. This is a scam. And then you're going to sell me into all your supplements. You're going to tell me that I have mold toxicity and heavy metal toxicity and all this scams that for some people is 100% valid. I have many clients who do have to go through that. But to offer that right off the bat is where it does get wonky. And and that's why we focus so much on teaching you guys the 5 speed pillars and teaching you guys about like the lymphatic system and like drainage and like this is what our biology is. And it's so easy through diet and exercise to get the changes you want. And we teach you about that. But anyways, so going back to the strength piece, if you remember that slide I had about how your gut microbiota is directly responsible for your glycogen storage and your muscle hypertrophy, that's where it matters, especially I think with that quick like learning like the osmolality of the quick sugars. And you are in a space where you are kind of eating the foods that aren't the best for your gut at times. And as an athlete, you're going to have to balance that out, right? But over time, the cutting, the bulking, the weight changes that you're going to have to do is a stress on the body. So what are you doing to mitigate that stress? Think about Brian Shaw, is it? All of his posts now, more so now, if you watch his like YouTube full day of eatings, it's like, I'm really focusing on my gut health now. Why do you think, right? There's so much food that his body needs to process. The poor thing, right? To keep that mass, to keep that strength. That's why it matters.
Yeah. What are the most common mistakes you see coaches and clients doing that actually harm the gut health and undermine the goal?
Supplements, like you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the overconsumption of supplements, mainly because it's not doing anything. They think they chat GBT'd it and they saw this or whatever. And they're like, oh, I tried this supplement and this supplement. And you'll never be able to stop people from buying supplements. It's on like television all the time, or AG1 or whatever else. Oh, I heard colostrum was good for my gut. I'm just going to take that. They're flushing money down the toilet. It's not going to do anything, right? Until you learn the 5 speed pillars, you go through the process of rebuilding the healthy gut and then the hormones. And that's where you're going to see those changes. You have to learn. The way that I teach is teaching you about the specific ingredients and the specific herbs. Because we've taken the specific herbs and the PubMed studies on the specific outcomes of those herbs, you're not teaching and preaching about a specific supplement that you're looking to sell. You're learning about that specific herb's toxicity levels and amounts in that specific setting. So it's more so teaching you how to put together the puzzle pieces on the back end versus, hey, like I'm affiliated with First Form, so take these protein powders, which you could say people do in the fitness industry too.
Yeah, I really liked your post also the other day that you were doing I think it might actually have been the same one, where you went through the
GI map.
I believe it was a GI map, and you're basically you went through the GI tract to the source of the problem. And so then could pinpoint that the root of the problem was causing a cascade of symptoms.
Right.
That rather than treating each of the symptoms, you solve the root of the problem, and everything else kind of flows down from that.
Yeah, I can tell you what it was because I remember exactly. This patient came to me and they were like, I think I have, because of their ChatGPT, right? I think I have H. pylori and candida because I have white on my tongue and I have acid reflux. So I think I have H. pylori, candida, and I think I saw something swimming in my stool. So I think I have parasites too. Their GI map comes back. It shows none of those things. It shows a slew of other, overgrowths, etc. But it also says that they're not digesting their fat properly and that they're really intolerant to gluten, that anti-gliadin marker, which is an evidence-based marker that you could bring to your doctor too. It does not signify celiac disease, but it might actually ask you to say, hey, actually, if this doesn't resolve and you don't feel better, like let's have a conversation with your doctor about maybe getting tested for celiac disease. That's how you weave this all in. but it was a gallbladder issue, not digesting fat properly. Of course, you're going to feel full and have acid reflux if you can't digest fat. No, nothing of that digestion is going through, right? So it's a lot more. And white tongue is a symptom of acid reflux as well. So, solve the inability to digest fats properly, get them going to the bathroom, and then cut out gluten for 4 weeks and see what happens. Now, remember, removing gluten or removing bread is never always the issue. It's just this specific person was reactive to it, which I honestly don't see quite often, to be honest.
And then once the root of the issue is resolved, you can reintroduce gluten and
Yeah. Yeah. I have clients who were like, Dasha, they come back to me a year later. They're like, Dasha, I was just eating cheese and crackers out my window. And I thought to myself, I'm eating cheese and crackers. Like, this is my norm again. I'm so proud to
Yeah,
be here.
that's
So
amazing.
most of those food sensitivities come back once you heal that gut because there's nothing able to penetrate anymore. Your immune system is healed too.
Question just came in. With stress being one of the main speed pillars, what are your main means to navigate coaching clients dealing with intense outside stress without stepping into a counselor role beyond scope of practice?
And this is where you build out your toolkit of specific strategies that help your client, right? You're not a therapist. And in fact, I recommend you go talk to a therapist if you're still struggling beyond these things. But to help with basic stress, I would recommend XYZ. And this is where a lot of like the navigation comes in more specifically. When are you stressed? Like these are the questions you can ask as a coach. When are you stressed? Is it before your food? Do you need to incorporate box breathing? Do you need to go for a morning walk? Do you need to unplug before bed so that you sleep better so you don't wake up stressed? Like finding the root of that stress, that's your job as a coach. Ask all the questions that you can.
Right. Yeah, it is amazing how many things come back to seemingly
Sleep.
basic
Yeah, like
things.
I'm telling you guys, sleep,
Yeah.
personal stress, environmental stress, exercise, and diet, and the
Yeah.
basics of it, that's everything.
What are the most common, for again, most of our client or coaches or strength and conditioning coaches, are there um, red flags that you look for that signal to you there's something that we should look at from a gut health perspective? I mean, is this something everybody should be doing, or it's like 100% should be getting some sort of like GI test and hormone test, or no?
No, 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 no. I think everyone should be practicing the basics,
Sure.
like chewing your food properly, like making sure you're hydrated, getting 25 to 35 grams of fiber in a day, eating your fruits and vegetables. But you'd be surprised, most people aren't even doing that.
Right.
They're
Is
eating on the
and
go. They're a busy mom. They forgot
so
whatever.
then it's your 5 speed pillars, getting that locked in, and then if somebody still has some of the
So,
symptoms, then you go to the
and
next
most
level.
people, you have to remember that most people need external motivation before they can have internal motivation.
Oh,
And so when you
100%.
think about the theories of behavior change, right? The reason why the quick wins and the external motivation and like seeing the six pack on yourself is like, oh, heck yeah. Like, I can't wait to keep doing, right? It has to be external before it's internal. And so for a lot of people, that test, seeing it on paper and being like, wow, I'm really messed up. That'll actually get them to make the changes that they need to,
Interesting.
even though they were so basic to begin with. But having that validation and being like, oh, wow, I guess I was really messed up makes them actually take it seriously.
Mm, awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. Oh, wait, we got one more here.
Yeah.
So I basically am a speed eater at all times. What is
Yeah.
chewing your food properly in quotes? Because that little comment resonated with me.
I am a T-Rexer myself. I chomp and swallow. This is what's going to be most helpful for you. So try eating in your non-dominant hand.
Oh, interesting.
Try chewing or counting to 20 when you chew. Think about it like this. I always bring this back. I think I've told you this, Andrew, before too, but you bring it back to being a baby. How did you teach a baby to chew its food properly, right? You started with liquids, then you went to pureed foods, then it was like pretty soft and mushy, kind of hard. You don't give a baby a steak. Okay? So if you do, it's going to have to be pureed in the form of something like that, right? So that's what our teeth are responsible for. So if you think about what needs to be swallowed and how good that mush of food needs to be, you kind of think of it like that. Hope that helps.
Interesting. Love it. Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate your time.
Nice. Also, I will say I have a quick note. If you guys are looking for more clients, I have businesses that are actively hiring core coaches. And so if you want, and this, Andrew, I would love to talk to you about too. Like we have a lot of people with a lot of leads who need certified coaches. So if this is something that you guys are interested in scaling your own businesses with Turnkey, that would be awesome because I can connect you with those people.
Love it. I think that is probably the number one question that I get as we're
Awesome.
onboarding people. As soon as they're like, "Oh, now I have 5 hours more time," on,
Yeah.
once they're up and running on Turnkey Coach, the next question is, "Well, how do I get more clients?"
Yeah. I can give you the clients. So just let me know.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dasha. It was awesome. And man, I think I might need to sign up for this course myself. And for those listening, we're going to be posting a link to the course, and we've got a deal worked out so that we can hopefully encourage more people to sign up, because I think this can make a huge difference for a lot of people.